Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Corbin Russwin number 3000-200-6-H5-613. This is a pretty common rim cylinder, is what it is. It is literally a 3000, which means rim cylinder from Corbin Russwin. And this video is to bring you a closer look at that. Let's take a look. So I have one removed from the packaging. This is, again, a rim cylinder. This is a 3000. And the way to understand, I think, most manufacturers' locks is to simply dissect the part number. And we will surely do that in this video. It'll come with a couple of keys, and it's not been specified how they're to be keyed at all. So it's typical that they'll be sent what we call O-bitted, which means that there will be no cuts on the key, and the bottom pins will be such that they'll be the proper length to permit an O-bitted key to work. The advantage of ordering them and receiving them O-bitted is you're obviously going to be doing key work on the material. So you can order them randomly keyed, or keyed alike, or master keyed, or however you like, or construction keyed for that matter, and then special functions on top of that. But when you're going to be doing rekeying work, or you're going to be doing locksmithing work, the advantage of O-bitted is not only are you starting with a cylinder that just has very, very short pins in it, which you will probably discard, but you're going to get a couple of blanks, and that's handy, because you can then take these blanks and then cut them into the bitting that you require for the project. So that's the advantage of O-bitted, or zero-bitted. This would be a typical Corbin Russwin key blank. If you needed to order this blank would be called H5-6-pin-10. First of all, the H5 is the keyway, okay? That's this keyway that the client asked for, and that's part of the DH series of Corbin Russwin key blanks. The DH actually is from Russwin originally pre-merger, and this is the H5. The 6-pin is the standard length for a rim cylinder. You can order them in 5, 6, or 7-pin. If you don't specify, they're going to send 6-pin, but best practice would be to simply specify in the part number what length of cylinder plug that you require for your project. And then the 10 tells us you have a standard embossed face on one side of the key blank and a blank face on the other. That's the -10. A -12 would be standard embossed on one side, and it would be stamped "Do not duplicate" on the other side. You can certainly order the cylinder with those types of blanks and order those blanks as well. This rim cylinder is going to be, it's going to include, obviously, a standard tailpiece, horizontal position. They can be ordered in vertical position. I can't really think of any particular requirement that demands a vertical position only. It will include a trim ring or a cylinder collar. Okay, tapered cylinder collar, typical for a rim cylinder. You're also going to have the backing plate or the mounting plate and two what they call breakaway screws. The length of these screws would allow you to get this installed down into like about a 2.5-inch door, up to that. And then, of course, as short as, really necessary. The length of that body is about 1 inch. Okay. Just shy on 1 inch. Now, the length with the tailpiece gets you to about 2 7/8. Moving further into the part number now, 3000 is the rim cylinder. The 200 means it's a 2-inch long cylinder. Well, that cylinder did not quite measure 2 inch. It's close. If you were to pull that cylinder out of the back, pull that tailpiece out of the back of the cylinder, you would measure 2-inch overall length. And you can change that 200 to get different length tailpieces that you need, and we'll discuss that in a moment as well. Then what comes next is the 6. It's important to tell us that it's a 6-pin system, a system that you have, so therefore you need a 6-pin cylinder. The H5, we're going to dive into that when we get to the cylinder manual here in a moment. And then, of course, 613, I didn't indicate initially, but that is an oil-rubbed bronze cylinder face is what that is. Okay. My only comment / suggestion, they package the hardware, the screws, the keys, the mounting plate, And that's going to require, by the way, an 1¼ inch hole would be pretty typical for a cylinder like this. You'll want to, of course, check your template. But 1¼ inch is a pretty good size for a rim cylinder in order to drill through a door. The diameter of the brass body, and it is made of brass, is 1.148. So 1¼ inch would be pretty good. They package all this together, so a little bit of evidence of it being packaged together is certainly there, which, quite honestly, should be thoroughly avoided. There's no reason to ship it this way. That's not how they should ship a cylinder. I have some mortise cylinders that are on my desk. The mortise cylinder is in a bag. The other parts are in the box, which would be just the key blanks, really, but they isolate those parts. I'd put that cylinder in a separate package. Now, to fully understand what this is, it's very helpful to look into, and with all things hardware, the product catalog, most certainly the price list, and in the case of Corbin Russwin, the cylinder manual. So let's dive into that by switching to the screen view now. Okay, so here we are looking at the cylinder in the site. Not much here to see, but I do need to point out the link to the manufacturer's page, and that is very helpful because it's going to allow us to get to these supporting documents that I'd like to show you. The full product catalog, let's open that. Let's open up the price list as well. Okay, and then we're also going to open up the Corbin Russwin cylinder manual. Let's get that opened up. So starting at the beginning, the product catalog. We'll do a find function on our keyboard for 3000-200, and you're going to find all of the instances once the your PDF viewer indexes the document of where this shows up. So it'll show up really in exit devices. Is really where you're going to see rim cylinders. You'll certainly see them in rim locks, things of that nature. So it's always handy to just search through a catalog by your search term because you'll find all of the instances of where it occurs, and that's just a handy way to better understand the unit altogether. So lots of instances of where we see it. As you scroll through or click through, you'll see other pieces of information that you basically already know, but you'll see it delivered in different ways. So if you needed a let's say a high security version of this cylinder, it's going to become a 3010 is the part number. Their pyramid is listed down here. High security could be their access 3. Continue to search through the document. You'll find more instances of where it's called out. This page is for an ED8000 series exit device. So it's handy in that regard. This page has different lengths of tail pieces, and that's because they're showing you the applications that they are used for. I admittedly did get interrupted, so pause this and have forgotten exactly what I was saying, but the length of the tail piece is probably what we were talking about based on the particular application. So, and then also how the part number changes as you get into different types of cylinders. So if you need a rim cylinder and you're doing pyramid high security, it's going to have to be a 3020. And of course, following through on the rest of the logic of the part numbers allows you to understand how the part number needs to change as your keying requirements in your application changes. Now, also what's handy is the price list. The price list very often has information far more appropriate to what you're working on, in the sense that in a price list, they distill it down into its essence. They're not showing you that it's used in 4 different series of exit devices. So here is our 3000 rim cylinder. It's important to know that it's a 552 plug. That may or may not be important for you to know. It might be something that is true, and you just don't have a need to be aware of the fact that the diameter of the plug is 0.552 versus 0.509. 3000 is a rim cylinder. 200, that's that standard length tailpiece we talked about. 058, 138. You can see how they change for the application. Very typical to install a rim cylinder into an alarm unit on a door, and you end up cutting that tailpiece very, very short. So save yourself the trouble. You might, if you know you need a 5/8 tailpiece, just order it that way. The 200N is the same as a 200, except that it has shorter screws for that application. This ED5000, ED4000 requires shorter length screws. You can get that tailpiece vertical, as I said. You can order it longer, 3.5 inch for a very thick door, and you can also order that 312V. The V is just missing here. You can order that vertical. So it's standard to have a horizontal 2-inch length tailpiece. 6-pin is standard as we move here. And then our keyway. As we said earlier, we're doing H5, and that's where this gets very interesting. If you recall back to the cylinder manual I had mentioned earlier, we have that document pulled up. And this 100-plus page document is the governing document as it pertains to all things Corbin Russwin related in terms of their key systems. PF Corbin has been in business since, I believe, right before the Civil War or immediately after. I actually have a catalog that goes back to 1871, which I'll show you before we wrap up this video. So when you're dealing with a key system that's been evolving for 150 years, naturally the manual is going to be extensive. What's truly special about this is that Corbin Russwin publishes this living history of all of their material. Okay, incredibly helpful. If you work with Corbin Russwin, if you deal in that environment at all, and you are not familiar with this, I would, and I'm not kidding, read this cover to cover, and then refer back to those individual sections as they apply to what you're working on. It's really difficult to know what to be working on in Corbin Russwin if you don't understand the class of the key and what system, pre-System 70 or System 70, that you're working in. So be mindful of that. How to use this manual. Like I said, if you're going to do Corbin Russwin, read this cover to cover. But we get right to key bitting classes that are here. And this is fun because it will give you a history of this material. A history of the key classes going back literally to the 19th century. Okay, so we happen to be dealing with a H series, which is a DH bitting class, which was originally Russwin, and we can see that here. Corbin Russwin key bitting classes. Russwin, the DH class. You have System 70 and non-System 70. In 1970, they went from a two-step system, which is called non-System 70, and made System 70 the standard, which is a single-step progression. That's important to know. That's irreplaceable information to know when you are pinning this material, what step or what system you're working in. As you continue to scroll through this catalog, you will find more information as it pertains to the history of Corbin and Russwin, a definition of all the terms. They get into talking about how to key material, meaning how to perform the locksmithing work of keying. It is understood that you'll have a good grasp on the concept of generating bitting lists. This is what's called a KBA, or a key bitting array. Knowing how this is put together is really handy because it will allow you to follow along. And if not, seek out additional information. There is a really great book by a certified master locksmith by the name of Jerome Andrews. I've read his book cover to cover. His book helped me pass the standard test for the ALOA, Certified Registered Locksmith exam. Jerome Andrews, Certified Master Locksmith. He has a master keying book. See if we can find it. Fundamentals of Master Keying, there it is. Let's hop out of there. was hoping to find it in Abe books, my preferred source of books, but nonetheless, Fundamentals of Master Keying. This is required reading, in my opinion, if you are interested to learn more about this topic. He is an exceptional author, very clear sort of way in which he writes. You can follow along easily. He has very clear language, and it is, as they say here, a must-have for those in the field. I couldn't agree more. So that would give you the basics. As you continue to scroll through here, you'll find out more and more information. I had said, oh, maybe I didn't. If you ordered these key blanks separately, I've now forgotten, you would order it by key section. We're doing H5, and then 6-pin, and then these key blanks that are included with the cylinder are indeed a 10. It's a standard bow shape with a coined logo on one side and blank on the other. So what also this manual has, other than all kinds of nifty information, is the depth and spacing data for all of their key classes. The DH series happens to be on page 18. Russwin D&H, interesting information. The H series is here. We're doing H5. So this client literally ordered H5. So they have a system. This is a municipality on the West Coast. They obviously have an installed system of the H5 keyway, which was a Russwin keyway. DH bidding classes, page 62, 63, and 65. That will show you the depth and spacing data, which we'll get to for pre-System 70 and System 70 in a moment. But you can see how the H5 is a part of a multiplex structure. Okay, 8 different keyways or plugs that you can get in cylinders down here. These 6 are multi-section key blanks with an all-section blank. The reason to have a multiplex system is so that you can extend a system beyond the mathematical limitations of how many biddings or differs you can generate. So, not to get too deep into it, and that book by Jerome Andrews will give you all of the information. In a 6-pin environment, in a 2-step system, in a pre-System 70, you could derive 4,096 changes out of this, okay, which is basically 4 to the 6th power. Just bear with me as I confirm that. Allow me to pull my foot out of my mouth if I need to. Yeah, 4,096, which is 4 to the 6th power. You have 6 chambers, and you have 4 possible cuts with a TMK involved in your KBA. So you can get, theoretically, 4,096 different keys out of a single structure, out of a single keyway. Well, what if you needed 5,000 actual cuts, actual different biddings out of your system? Well, you would go to its sister profile, the H6. You could take all the biddings from here, photocopy them all, copy them all in the H6 keyway, and then use a multi-section blank like the H56 to be able to pass both of these cylinders. Okay. You can also use a multiplex structure in this way. Imagine this municipality on the West Coast had all of their facilities on the H5 except payroll, accounting, and human resources, or anything restricted would be on an H6. The H5 key will not enter this profile. The H6 key will not enter this profile. Okay, so it's another way, it's another means by which to allow you to extend a system, number one. Number two, provide inherent mechanical security because you are physically restricting what can be done in each of these 2 cylinders. Okay. Okay, as we continue now, let's move to the depth and spacing data, 62, 63, and 65. All right, 62 is the Corbin Russwin Z and DH class for System 70. So if you're literally working in a System 70 environment, again, single-step progression. This is your depth and spacing data. How deep your cut, what your root cut depth is on your key blank. We'll give you the pin lengths for 509 and 552. Bottom pins, build-up pins, if you're dealing with interchangeable core or master ring. IC top pins, they are I forget the term, but you use a top pin appropriate for the pin stack height. There is a term for that. Forgive me, I've forgotten what it is. You don't just use the same top pin everywhere. Master pins, okay? Other helpful part numbers here are for items that you might use in that system. They said 63 as well. That shows the Z and DH class in the M Heart high security. This has been discontinued for many years, but they still do exist. And then it was page 65, which will be the DH class pre-System 70, pre-1970, before the conversion to single step. This would be a two-step system. Root depth cuts are here, pin lengths are here, and the rest of the manual just continues with everything. The only thing that's not in here would be profiles of restricted keyways. They're not going to show you anything that's restricted. They may show you a dashed line, and this would be blank to indicate that the keyway exists. But when you invest in a high security system, you certainly do not want to have that data published at all. What's nice about the depth and spacing data is that they tell you the code card to use if you have a Blitz machine by HPC. That code card will then tell you the jaw to use on your machine and the cutter to use. So that's really handy. If you've got the key blanks and you're originating on a BEST, you're set. Pardon me. If you have the key blanks and you're originating on an HPC, you're all set. If you are originating on a Fromen, you're all set. It's all here. Your root depth cut, your spacing. You know your plug diameter, and you'll be able to create all of your keys, originate all your keys by code. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, in conclusion, I'm quite partial when it comes to Corbin Russwin. I like the product, and like I had said initially, I think I'm partial to it because I'm more familiar with it, and it's actually because I've researched that manual so often. As a result of simply doing an academic research project into Master Ring from Corbin Russwin is what it is. Very nice quality item, made of solid brass, backed by very good technical support folks. Because they're owned by ASSA ABLOY, the resources that Corbin Russwin has to draw on are pretty extreme. And what I mean by that is when I was researching my Master Ring article, I would call tech support, and they literally don't, the standard tech support people that you deal with, not that they don't understand Master Ring, but they are not familiar with it like I'm not familiar with it, because it's not 1930 or 1950. You don't have people ordering this stuff, so you're not forced really to learn it, so you end up not learning it because you're trying to learn the stuff that you sell. But what's great about that is their tech support, they'll tell you, okay, I know what Master Ring is, I can kind of help you here, however, call this person. So I was able to work with an incredibly talented person under the ASSA ABLOY umbrella who actually participates in educating people within the industry on key systems and whatnot. He's, I'm not sure of his exact title. But then also they'll say, call key records, call the key records department, people who generate material. And I've had a very helpful conversation with a person in tech support who didn't work in key services, but was quite competent in the area. And we were talking about the theory of generating bidding lists for Master Ring, etc. So at the end of the day, when you invest into Corbin Russwin, from my actual experience, you gain access to all sorts of resources. Not only quality material, quality people, but the published documentation, that manual. I truly, truly hope that they endeavor to keep that manual up to date as much as possible as it goes on. Only Medico, a sister company of Corbin Russwin, has something that is equal to this. Their original Medico technical manual and their Medico 3 technical manual. If you work on that material, not having that manual is going to prove to be a bit more of a challenge, because it's going to be a lot more guesswork, and it's also going to be a matter of not being exactly sure of what the entire realm of possibilities are within a system. So the fact that they freely publish that for your review is, is an absolute reason to invest in a Corbin Russwin system. Any questions on this 3206 H5 613 rim cylinder or any other Corbin Russwin product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.